My Life in Letters, we are back, and today on the phone, all the way from Brooklyn, New York. I don't know, are we like a mile away from each other right now, dude?
Yeah.
I think we are. On the phone, we have Roachi from TG8 Crew, Thirds and Fours. Thanks for being on the show, man. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm really humbled to be on. Definitely.
I'm excited on multiple levels, you know, like we got to paint recently and got to meet. And so like, you know, you're a good guy. People dig your style. I totally dig your style. And then there's this extra layer for our show where we're jumping continents here for the first time. So you, and actually you can tell us, but are you originally born in Australia?
No, actually I was born in Tokyo in Japan. And I was there for like 3 years.
Okay.
So I don't remember shit about Japan. I did go back there. I went back there with my brother and my dad, and I went painting there. Then we moved to Australia. Yeah, been there. Was there pretty much most of my life, about 18. Moved away, came back, and now I don't know how, but I've ended up here.
Are your parents both Australian citizens?
My dad's English and my mom was Australian.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're not Asian. I'm not Japanese.
I figured.
It's one of the first questions. It was like people go, "Oh, so you're Japanese?" No, I'm not. No. But yeah, no. So I'm Australian.
And were your parents?
I'm just another fucking Australian in New York.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, dude, we're glad to have you, despite what our president just did the other day. But, and so, damn, dude, that's the first time I said our president. He's not my fucking president. So you guys were living in Tokyo, and you told me before we started recording that you were born in 82. So that tells me that you moved to Australia around 85. I'm curious if you've been drawn to the aesthetic of Japanese art or Japanese writing or calligraphy or just the culture itself, being that you were born there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did Japanese at school. Like I love the lettering format. Like when we talk about like referencing like any sort of like lettering that I can remember, I definitely had a lot of like Japanese stuff in our house growing up because my mom collected a lot of it. So there was that. There was like a lot of those characters, and I found them kind of pretty bizarre. Like, you know, I think even when you still look at like Japanese like lettering, it's just like it looks like some alien shit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it really does.
It's so technical, and like how something like that could describe like a lot more than just a word.
You were kind of alluding to that because we were talking before the recording about what your earliest experience or earliest memory of letter was and any way that it affected you. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I guess like there was that growing up, the Japanese stuff around the house. But then there was also my dad, because he traveled a lot for work, and he traveled a lot to the UK. And he would come back with these comic books. You know, everyone has the comic book thing, but these were like specifically the English ones. Like they were, I was like Bingo and like Dandy, and there was this like, I don't know, it was pretty much all the titles that I remember. Like it wasn't so much like the onomatopoeia stuff, that like the Born with the Power and all that stuff. Like I do remember that, but it was more like, it was like the name of like whatever the comic was or whatever the character was. And these English comics would have like, it wasn't just like one character. They'd have like 20 different character stories throughout them. There was one called The Numbskulls, which my little brother, who also is like a fine artist who goes by that name, that's kind of where he got it from as well.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, we were
cool.
always kind of fed these like kind of English comics, but The Numbskulls was like, it was basically a look into someone's head, and inside the head was like all these people working, trying to make the person do stuff. So there was like people controlling the eyes and like people controlling the arms and all that stuff. So
Cool.
It was like that sort of stuff. It was just like that we were all just kind of like these vessels, like with people inside us controlling us kind of thing. It was pretty bizarre stuff to like.
It sounds bizarre, but
the English are very strange, like conceptually, like humor-wise and stuff. So I have a lot of that kind of like bizarre humor stuff going on.
I grew up reading comics, so I have like a real affinity for them. But these English ones you're talking about, I'm not sure I totally know like what they look like or what they were all about. Do you know who published those?
I'm not sure exactly who published them.
What was the style?
The style, like it's like they were really cartoony. Like they weren't like serious. They weren't like it wasn't like Marvel and DC and stuff like that. It was more like, I don't know, it was comical. It was like cartoony. They were all like sort of weird. There was like other comics you could get that were more adult comics and it's still the same sort of style, but they were like way seedier and they had like these like super hectic undertones of like sexuality and all this stuff. It's pretty bizarre.
And so you were saying that like they would have lots of different characters, but it was also the titles that kind of stood out.
Yeah, there was like Roger the Dodger and like Ivy the Terrible and there was, what else was there? Like Dennis the Menace, obviously, like Nasher and Nipper and I don't know, it's just like all these, there was like numbskulls, there was like, yeah, it was weird. Like anyone English listening to this will like completely know what I'm talking about.
And so, and you were getting these from your dad when he would come back from the UK around when you were like 3, 4, like around that time when you first went to Australia. Is that when you got them?
He would start bringing them back. I'm not sure. It was probably a little bit older than that. Maybe like, about 4 or 5 or something, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, he was constantly going and coming back, and when he'd come back and he would bring, the comic books.
Did you remember when it came to the letters? I mean, I'm presuming that the characters probably stood out as much as the lettering did, and that leads me to ask you, like, did you start drawing at an early age due to maybe seeing comics like that?
Yes, I was always drawing. I had my own little comic sort of like thing. I would draw. There was this character that I would draw, and it had a big nose, and like that was kind of the identifying character. That was the characteristic of it, that it just had this big nose. I don't know. It was always side on, like a profile, like style, but this big nose and then this like little spiky lip, like
nice.
So I had this character and I did that, and then kind of at one point I was like getting a bit more into the superhero thing, and I made this character called the X-Avenger, and he just like was a rip-off of all the best parts of X-Men, basically. He had Wolverine's claws, and he had Cyclops eyes, and he had like flying powers, and he had like everything. Like he was like the one character that embodied like all of their powers. And
that's awesome.
I did about 6 or 7 issues of that, and they were like just stapled black and white.
That's so cool, man. You were making little zines or your own little comic. How old were you when you started like really doing that?
Maybe that was more around like 10, 11-ish sort of thing, so around like there.
1992, 93?
Yeah, it was 92. It was 92 because I remember, like, because I had to, every comic book in the corner has like the little like insignia thing, and then it has how much it costs and then what date it was. So I always remember that was 92.
Nice. And that was like, who would you give those comics to? Were they just for family? Did you give them to friends?
Well, no, there was only ever one copy of these, so I would keep them. I would just keep them.
Dope.
And I would show people, and then I would keep them. I never produced more than one of them, so I had like 6 of these things, and they were in like a little plastic sleeve in a little folder, and I would just like
that's awesome.
Bring them out.
Yeah.
It's just more like I have no idea how to like make copies of these things. I was just like, yeah, I did it. That's like, now what?
Where are they now? Where are those 6 or 7 copies?
They're in my dad's basement. He's keeping all this stuff for me. Last time I went back, he was like, can you just like get rid of some of it? and it was really hard. Like I went down this wormhole.
So, I'm curious about Australia in 1992, so you're 10 years old. Like I just know, like from just being older, that like there was already a very like a rich graph scene in Australia. You were in Sydney. Were you in Sydney proper?
Yeah, I was in Sydney. I grew up in Sydney.
And do you remember as a little kid having experienced graffiti in some way, or had you seen it yet at 10 years old?
Maybe not at 10, maybe more like 11, 12 when I started getting into skateboarding and started like, you know, that's when it started to happen, you know.
And what do you think was, how did skateboarding introduce you to the graph? How did that come about?
Well, one of my first memories of how when I saw graffiti was there was two of them. One of them was there was this bowl that we used to go to all the time, like a couple of times a week after school on the weekend. And it was a brand new park that they built, and then like it was clean forever. And then one night this thing just popped up on the bowl, and it just said "smoke 'em up." It was like a 2-color fade, like a teal to blue. It was dope. Like, it was done really well. It was this crew, SMP. I later found out they were, like, from my area. It was so blazing because this bowl was so new and there was nothing around, and it was, like, a pretty chill neighborhood for graph. And then there was just this, like, boom, this, like, crazy thing. And, like, I was just like, what the fuck is that?
And what was your like thought? Like, what did you think? I mean, first of all, it says "smoke 'em up." I presume you had an idea what that was all about.
Yeah.
Did you have like any cultural context? Like, did you know that this was graffiti in that sense?
No, not at that point. I just kind of was like, let's like just come up overnight. I was like, that's super weird. Like, I was like, you know what I mean? It's like really unexplained. I was like, what the fuck? How did that? Because I was going there all the time when they first built it, and then this thing just like, I was like, wow, that's like really obvious.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then it kind of wore off. But that was it kind of wore off because people skated on it so much, like it just kind of disappeared. So like it kind of like forgot about it ish. Like it was there, it kind of faded away. But then we started going to this one spot called the Warehouse. It was really kind of out of the way and hard to get to, but like some people had built like a skate park in there. So it was this spot that we would go to, and we would get mum to drop us off like near there, and we would tell her that we're going somewhere else, and then we would like wait till she left, and then we'd have to like sneak into this warehouse to go skating.
Nice.
And we'd she eventually sort of cottoned onto it and followed us, and then was just like, what the fuck are you going into that warehouse for? And we were just like 11 or 12 or whatever it was, like just kind of like we're in there. But like that was another thing, because like people were painting warehouses back then. And so like I was just like, what is all this shit everywhere on the walls? Like there was a couple of pieces I remember. There was a Yoke, YOKE, and then there was this other guy, Iwan, who was like a skateboarder as well, who we knew from the neighborhood. But those were the ones, and I saw it and I didn't really know how to do it, and I had like texters, you know, like I had like markers, or what you call them, markers, I guess. And we were like, I would just draw on the floor, but it was more like stoner art, you know. So it was like a bong with like a leaf, and it was all a bit kind of trippy, and had like, you know, like a Rancid style, like punk looking like lettering that said, what did I write? It was like Duel or something, like DUEL or something. I don't know.
So
I did that once.
Oh, really? So that was like, maybe you can attribute that to being your first tag, Duel.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And let me back up a little bit. Can you tell us where that bowl was? That skate bowl that you used to go to?
The bowl was in a suburb called St. Ives, and it's like, I don't know. It was a bit of a nothing neighborhood. Okay. Like it was like not near a train line, so it was kind of hard to get to.
No offense to those people listening from St. Ives, of course, right?
No, I mean, like, St. is the like we have a terrible, like we don't have the best train, like transport system in Sydney because it's like very spread out. So there were neighborhoods and like areas that were hard to get to, but this was in that area. We would like we would skate all the way there. We skated everywhere, like that was the. When you couldn't get a lift, that was the next thing.
Of course. And then the warehouse, was that in a district, like an industrial district?
That was in a different area called Macquarie, and it was also like kind of like tricky to get to. So you needed a lift, or you just had to skate a really long way.
Okay. And that's where people were painting, and also you said something. You called your markers testers. Was that like the brand?
Texters. Yeah, I think it was a brand. TEXTA. Texta.
Texta. Okay, so that was a brand of markers. Was it ink or
paint? It sounded
so
Australian then.
Yeah.
Texta.
Texta. Was that ink or was it paint in those pens?
It was ink, and then you could, you would also like we would. You take the top off, and then you like would pull out the ink, like sponge thing inside, and then just clamp it shut and make bigger pens. I don't know.
Nice. Were like, is that what a lot of kids were using to tag with at that time? Was it popular?
Yeah, and like they used solids as well. Those like streak pens. There was a lot of that going on in the 90s. When people would cut them into like eighths.
Yeah.
Like they would get like all the different ones, and then they'd pull them all out and cut them into like eighths, and then they would put them all back together, and they'd have these crazy like like gradient tags that have like
for
8
sure.
colors
I mean,
them.
it's still being done today. People still cut streaks. It's great. Okay, so you had your hands on some solid markers and these Textas. Was the skate scene in 93, 94 like? Would you say that it was similar to any skate scene around, like in America or anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, we were totally emulating America. We watched Forum On, we watched Transworld, we watched we were watching all the same shit.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
We were like on the other side of the world, but we like got all the stuff, and we would, we had skate demos where people would come down, and it was a big deal. We had like, there was. Like Kareem Campbell, Gresham Mosley. There was like all these big skaters that would come down, and we would it would be like a massive event because we are so far away. People would make the effort, but when they do come out, like everybody just kind of flocks to see it. Like music, skateboarding, like when they come, like everyone loves to go.
Yeah, and so being that you guys were, though, all the way around the world, and there was just a lot of different influences there, were there unique components to the Australian skate scene that you wouldn't be able to say was anywhere else?
I don't know if we were unique skateboarding-wise.
Okay.
Like, no offense to Australia. I don't know. I think, like, we had a lot of good skaters, but I don't think we really created a new style or a thing or anything. Like we have a lot of like skateboarding companies, that blew up and surfing companies and stuff that became very big,
Yeah.
But no, I don't know if we're unique skateboarding style.
So, and like you said, you were seeing the videos. I presume you were getting Thrasher and Transworld, just all those magazines, and you were just looking to that for reference and for inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'd see like and all of that, like that whole world started to like blend together, and then all of a sudden it was like you're skateboarding, but you're also taking like markers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm curious about that. Like, so when you did that first dual tag, and a couple of years prior, was it a couple of years that you had seen that Smoke 'Em Up piece in the bowl? Like graph was on your mind, but who were you looking at for influence?
For the graffiti thing?
Yeah. And was it 94 when you did that dual tag?
Yeah, about 94, 95, but I kind of like I did it because I was like around it, but I wasn't kind of like fully like hooked at that point. And then I do remember there was a guy who was in our little kind of skate crew at school. This guy, his older brother, I don't know what he wrote, but he was like involved. And they were like a couple of years older than us, like 3 years older.
Mm-hmm.
This guy in our skate group who ended up kind of being a bit of a jock in the end, he brought this album in to school, and that's kind of what did it. Like, he brought it in, he was just like looking through it. I was just like, what the fuck is that? And it was just like photos. It was his brother's photos collection. Nice. It wasn't just his brother's stuff, because his brother wasn't really that good, but it was like just like people, like just photos of all the stuff going on in Sydney, like, and I was just like, what is this? It's so weird.
And who do you think was in that? Do you remember any names of heads that were in that book?
I definitely know. It would have been, there was a crew called RLM, which was Run Like Mad, and there was like Easy, there was a couple of other, like Juz, who was someone who I ended up painting with in the end, but
Juz? How do you spell that?
Jers, like, sorry, American, Jers, like okay. Jers.
Oh, Jers,
okay.
Guy,
Jers, he actually ended up sort of like, he was a bit older than me. I ended up meeting him in the end. It was weird because he was probably one of the first things that I saw in that book, in that album. So yeah, I kind of saw this guy brought this album in, we were looking at it, and like, I was just kind of like obsessed, and then I started like, I was like, I draw comics and stuff, so I was like, yeah, I can do this, because, before I would draw like the X Avenger title, and like I would have like the comic name, like titles, like, and I was always looking at these titles, and I was like, it's kind of just like a title, but like more like kind of tech, like as like I was like, it's not very clear, like it's not like the title, because the title is really legible, like really blazing in public, but this is like really kind of intricate, and I was just like, I was like, super cool. I was like, let's do it.
Yeah. And that guy that had the photo album, he's like showing this to you. And so did you immediately know that there was like an element of danger or legality to all of this spray paint stuff? Had you known?
Not really. I was more interested in the way it looked. Mm-hmm. I didn't really understand all the other like kind of like, the side effects,
Yeah. And so, and that was 95, right? That you saw this photo album, or 96?
Yeah, it was 95, and I think it was 96. I can safely say that I started doing it. There was like a moment where like all of a sudden we were catching the train every day, and I like after I saw that album, it was like I was fully woke to fucking like the train trip on the way to school. You would just look out the window. I was just like, shit. It's like, it's almost like something was like a filter was just lifted from my eyes, and then you just go, fuck, there it is as well. You're like, it's everywhere.
So like, it was, you'd been taking that train already. You just hadn't taken in all of the sights. Okay, interesting. No, that's cool.
I just didn't have the filter removed.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of like, so I was catching it, and all of a sudden I was like, whoa, look, it's out there. I was like, oh, and they're all different. I was like, how many of these people are there? Like, what? Like, I was like, shit.
Yeah. And were you seeing that guy Jers and who else were you seeing along that train line?
RLM. There was this guy who wrote Axes, AXES, and then there was this guy Mesh who was super dope. There was this guy Amuse who still paints a lot. He's in Melbourne now, but he's quite a famous Sydney guy. Who else was there? This guy Phibbs, who's still like a really great friend of mine. There's so many people. It was a really active line actually, like this North Shore line that I grew up on. There was a lot of good riders that came out of there.
Are there still heads painting that train line today?
Oh yeah. They're still, but they're all younger. They're not like the older guys all live in the city, paint in the city. Like it's like this is like suburbs a bit.
When you saw all that graph along the train lines, did you start thinking at that point like how you could maybe start contributing to that? How you could go out on a mission at 13?
Yeah. I really wanted to do it. I did it pretty quickly actually after like being work for it. Like I just kind of went, okay, cool. I got paint. I I got paint from, where did I get it from? It was someone's basement. I don't know. I just like was in someone's basement. Their parents had some in the basement. I just took it.
And what kind of brands of paint were you guys using out there at that time?
It was called Dulux, which is an Australian brand.
Dulux?
Dulux, like deluxe, but we would say Dulux. And you know, they had like 8 colors, but it was mostly that. Mostly that.
Was it good paint? Like, was it, at least at that point?
Yeah, they were great.
Nice.
They were great. Yeah, they were awesome.
And I mean, there was so much tech already at this point in the graph game, like as far as caps and different cans and you know, all the like boutique paint was starting to come out. But with this stuff, with this Dulux paint, were you using the stock caps that came on them, or did you already have like a hookup on more?
No, well,
stuff?
I mean, at that point, like, because it was super early and I hadn't like looked up, like, you know, I didn't know where to get anything, so I was just like, I'll just use whatever. And I just use the chisels for outlines. Like, nice. I was just like, you know, your first or second pieces, they're just like crazy, like, you know, what the hell?
Yeah. And so this had those female caps that had like a chisel on them?
Yeah, they'd have chisels on them. You couldn't really like I don't think you could put different nozzles on them. Oh, you could, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And so you got all that paint from a friend's basement. And then what?
And then I remember I went and did my first, I did a dual piece, by myself. I went out, I did it, I think it was on like Valentine's Day.
Nice.
I think one year. I don't know. I guess I was just having a good time by myself.
When you're 13.
But no, I went out and I did this thing, and then I remember when I caught the train past it the next day, because I was like super excited that I'd done it, and I was like, you know, like I went past it so quickly, but I was just like so stoked.
I bet.
You know,
yeah.
that I was in the mix, because I was just like, you'd see all these people and you're just like, I want to be in there. And then like all of a sudden you're in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to get more in there.
Nice.
So like, yeah, it was all illegal tracksides. That's kind of what I grew up on at the start. So I did that dual piece around 97, but then I was just doing like mad tags. So I was like doing all these tags. Not dual, it was meth, MEPH.
Meth. Nice.
Meth.
And before we get into meth, let me just keep it on dual for a second. Did you sketch out what you were going to do that night? Had you been doodling? Had you been sketching in books to kind of refine your style? Yeah.
Yeah, I brought the sketch,
nice.
know, to the wall in the dark,
nice.
You know, and I was like, didn't have like a torch or anything. I think I had like a cigarette lighter or something. But you know, like,
what do you think that style was like? Like, where did you get the style, in quotation marks, that you did that first piece? Who were you looking at?
Well, from this album. Like at this point, I hadn't like realized like that I could get access to like spray can art and Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which were actually in the library at school.
Nice. Really? At your like, high school or elementary school?
Yeah,
wow.
I didn't know that, but I got it mostly from this album that I saw that one time, and then just seeing it everywhere. I was kind of more referencing like stuff that I'd seen around. So there was kind of like this 90s North Shore style-ish for pieces. And it probably looks like most other, like maybe American graffiti from that time. It wasn't I don't think it was very unique. I think everyone who was doing it had seen those books.
Sure. And I mean, there was already at that time, Art Crimes was out. So there were websites that were showing graph, you know. Yeah. So I presume some guys in Sydney were on that.
That's right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm curious, did you get flicks of that dual piece?
What's that, sorry?
Do you have flicks of that dual piece, your first piece?
No.
What did it look like?
It was white and yellow fill with a black outline.
That's like a smart first color scheme, you know? You didn't do like black fills with red outlines or something ridiculous, you know, like a lot of us were doing in the 90s.
Yeah, I just knew black is what you needed.
Yeah.
Just like, and like still to this day, I'm still like, where's the black? We got black. I'm like, I love black. Nice. It's so good.
And so you did that duel, and also you said something that was kind of interesting. You know, you're like, now you're like a part of it, or you're like contributing to this thing. And so did that give you like a greater sense of sort of like self, or did that kind of strengthen your identity?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you know, it made me feel like I was alive on this planet.
Nice. Awesome. And you went solo. You went solo that night.
Yeah, I went solo that night.
So tell us a little bit more about like then what happened. Like after that first piece, did you? You said something like you were all in, or you like went for it at that point.
Yeah, well, I did one. Well, I did that piece, and then I was just like, I think I did that, but I was kind of also like, I can't like afford to just like be doing that, and I don't know, this guy's got no more paint in his parents' basement. So I don't know, I was stealing a lot of texts, and like just like I was doing inside, like every morning I would go a bit earlier and catch the train, and I'd go back car, and I would just like drop tags every morning, and then every afternoon. And then there was like a couple of us at school. There was 3 other guys who were also like starting to get into it, and we made a little crew. DYS, Defacing Your Shit.
Defacing Your Shit. Love it. And that was 3 guys. Who were the other dudes in the crew?
Bribe, BRB. There was this guy, Creep, who I'm still really good friends with. He's like a celebrity chef. It's pretty funny.
Nice.
And then this other guy, Used To, who I still see every so often. But like, I mean, these guys, like, they did it for like a year.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and we did 1 or 2 pieces all together, and they did a couple of tags, but then, you know, they just kind of moved on with life.
Mm-hmm. And you had also said that you did a MEPH piece, MEPH. How'd you get that name?
I don't know how I got it. Like, I feel like there's a part of me that was like, F, like, and that sound is cool because it's Zephyr, maybe. And, you know, like, I ended up writing Mepha, so it sounds like Zephyr. I don't know. Maybe that's it. But I wrote Meph for like a good half of my painting career. That's like, that was a big tag for me.
Really? So people know you as Meph out there?
Yeah, Mephy. It's probably what a lot of people, a lot of older people, were, you know, Australians, we just put like I's and O's and shit on the end of everything. So it's like Roach. Roach is Roachi. Meph is Mephy. Like, nice. You know, it just kind of softens it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I did this Meph piece. It was a trackside. It was at a place called Chatswood. It is in Sydney. My parents were away for the weekend. I had this cool older brother friend, babysit kind of guy looking after the house because we weren't to be trusted. But he was cool. He was just like, yeah, go do whatever you want.
Nice.
Yeah, so we went out to these tracksides, and then like, yeah, I think that was 98. I know that was the January 98. Was this trackside. And
for like those of us who don't know Sydney, which is might be many of our listeners, like, can you just tell us a little bit about what the scene in Sydney was like in 98? I mean, I know there's a skate scene. We know there's a lot of graph, but what's the finer like minutia stuff that we don't know about? Was it, can you just talk about it?
Yeah, well, Sydney at that time, what was going on? We had a great music scene. I was into a lot of different music. I liked, at that point, 96, 97, around there. I was into like punk music and like some like grunge and indie shit. Like, I was kind of into that. There was like cool venues like that would champion music. This place called the Metro. We would go. That was where I saw my first gig. What else was going on?
Who was it? Who was that first gig?
The first gig I went to was this band that I'll forever hold in my heart called Tumbleweed. And they're just like a kind of like psych rock thing. It was them and this other band called Monster Magnet, which I think's American actually. These are some sort of 90s weird bands.
Are those guys still around, either band?
Yeah, I saw Tumbleweed play, and they're so old and just so drug fucked.
Like, no.
And it's like they're like families on the side of stage, like just going like, yeah, Dad's like can barely hold a guitar. He's just so fucked. But I fucking love them. It was so good.
And did you soon find out, like around this 97, 98 time, that there were just actually like tons of writers, like everywhere?
Yeah. I started coming into the city, into Sydney City, because I was living in the suburbs, and I would come in and like I'd start to see like, oh, there was like people doing like productions, and like there was like some serious fucking like graffiti going on in the city. So I just kept going there a bit more, and I would go around and check out all the spots, you know, like all the like spots where I knew that there was shit that would get changed up a little bit, and just like check it out. I would take photos and stuff.
So were there yards? Were there like legal, like chill spots where people would go?
Yeah, it seemed like there were in the city. There weren't like where I was, like really. It was all just kind of tracksides and shit. But in the city they were like doing big murals and productions like BCS. It was like, you know, Demote and Snarl and these guys' days and stuff. They were all doing these big murals and productions, and when people would come over, they would link up with these guys, and they were doing these crazy things like Howard Muslim came over, and they were doing these crazy 3D like
nice
mural production things that were just mind blowing. But it was all going on in the city, not in the suburbs. The suburbs was just like tracksides. Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of came in and started like that. Kind of made it a bit more elevated as well.
And so then, did you also start at that time bombing in the city or getting up in the city?
Not really. I've got to say, I kind of kept to the burbs a bit. Like I was. My crew was pretty known for the trackside thing, and like, we did come into the city a bunch. Like it was called Mainline. We would come in and do Mainline a bunch. There was a period like probably, I don't know, it's jumping forward a bit where we were coming in and doing that. But no, I was mostly just on trains. I was like a school kid after school bomber. I would get on the train and just like walk one end to the other, because our school was kind of like 2 stops from the end of the line. So like when the train would turn up, there was no one on it, and it would be like 3 stations before people would actually like start really getting on it. So like we were just hammering it every day.
That's dope. What was the main line? Was main line a term for like the main train line, or is that a district?
Yeah, it was like the city line. You know, there was a crew called Mainline at one point. It was like a specific line. But that was kind of the main one that ran through the city. That was probably the one that the most people would see it. And
okay, so that was the one that you wanted to be up on if you were trying to
That's the one you wanted to be up on. Yeah, definitely. Like, no, people aren't going out to the suburbs to like see stuff. If they come through the city, they would see it on Mainline or whatever.
Yeah. And this is about 98. Were you? And you're still writing Meth. How many years did you write Meth or Mephi? You said it was half your career. Yeah.
I did all my trains under that name.
You had also said that you thought maybe the PH was kind of interesting, like Zephyr. So how did you catch wind of Zephyr or like the New York look or the New York scene?
So, I eventually got into the library and found those books. You know, that was probably just slightly prior to doing my first piece. So that was around this time.
And what was that experience like, to pull out subway art or whatever it was, spray can art?
It was sick. It was just like, it just unlocked like options for like style, you know? I was like, and like, I would say that I probably, when I was drawing originally after seeing it, I was biting shit out of there for sure. But, you know, I knew that you weren't supposed to do that. So like, I would never like, you know, I would never sort of show people that or like actually go paint it or whatever, but I was, using it as like a bouncing board, kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm also curious if that book let you understand that actually graph is sort of global and it was everywhere. It wasn't just in Australia. And actually, maybe the point of that question closer, did you even know that there was graph outside of Australia?
Yes, because I would hear it. I just hadn't seen the book. So like this guy would describe it all.
Yeah.
Because like the origins of this photo album was that like they're doing this shit, like it's like an American thing.
Mm-hmm. And skate mags and skate culture. You must have seen a
skate
little
culture,
bit
all
of graph,
that
right?
Started,
yeah.
That's kind of all just funneled in,
Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden you have, was it spray can art you said or subway art?
Both.
Okay. And so those books just like another filter removed and kind of opened things up. And so with meth, a lot of it had to do with the pH from Zephyr. Meth and Zeph.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. M and the E. I think it just like worked together. I like the sound of it. I don't know. It's hard to really pinpoint why these decisions were made.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't really know like why that was the choice.
Mm-hmm.
But it's once you start doing it and then it kind of works and then people see it and then you kind of locked in. You're like, yeah, I'll just kind of run with this. And I don't know. It's kind of just like it was kind of like that was the hard part, was picking the name, and I was just kind of wanted it to be over, I guess.
Okay.
Like,
and so you become you're
you're
Meffy and you're rolling around with these DYS guys. And you're in high school, right? What was your high school like as far as writers? Was there an abundance of writers there?
Well, yeah, there were other writers there. There were writers there. There was maybe two in the year above us.
Mm-hmm. Anyone of note? Anyone that continued to paint?
Well, I mean, there was this guy Muse who I mentioned before. He went to my school. He was big on the line, but he had already like graduated before we were there. So it was always like we knew that he went there.
Okay.
So, I don't know, maybe he's probably the only one out of my school that kind of kept going. He's still going. He lives in Melbourne now. He's still painting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we, I don't know, school-wise, like, we kind of linked up with the guys in the year above a little bit, but not really. We kind of just had our, like, 4 guys in our little group,
Yeah, and is that how it was all through high school, just you and those DYS guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know, and then I kind of like, I started to meet writers outside of school. And that's when, like, it kind of elevated again.
And how were you coming across other writers?
I bumped into some of them on the tracks at night. Mm-hmm. What else? I don't know. Pretty much on the train, like, sometimes on the train, I would, like, see these people bumming, and I would just go, yo, what's up? Like, yeah, because it was a back car thing. Like, if you see sketchy kids in the back car, you kind of know that they're writers. It's just so obvious. Like, it's like, in retrospect, it's like, we all could have just, like, worn different clothes, and it would have been, like, a lot smarter, but it was just so obvious. Like, I got arrested in the back car, like, twice, just because I looked so obvious,
What were the consequences of getting bagged in the back of that train?
Well, underage, so under 18, it was fine. Like, you just kind of got like a bit of a like a slap on the wrist.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
But
it was more dealing with the parents and the family that was the harder part.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that.
Trouble.
What was the family dynamic around these years when you're starting to go out and tag more? And did they know? Was it clear to them?
Yeah, my mom was really encouraging with it. My dad, like, he was always traveling a lot, so he kind of knew I was into it. He didn't really care. It wasn't a problem.
So your mom encouraged you going out trackside, or like she encouraged?
Not going out. She encouraged the art side of it.
Okay.
She actually bought me paint at one point.
Nice.
Which was awesome. She didn't buy it. Sorry, she got it. she was looking at some theater shit, and someone was throwing out this big box of paint, and she was like, "Oh, my son, I think he wants that, blah blah blah." So
Nice.
she brought it home for me, and half of them didn't work, but like the other half did.
Was it all that deluxe paint still?
Yeah, deluxe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the family thing was not, you weren't like having to hide it constantly. There wasn't like a real crackdown on it.
Not at the start, because it was like, I think she was happy I was into something artistic. She thought it was cool. She hadn't experienced the side effects yet, so she was fine with it.
But when you got arrested.
But then arrested, and then she had to kind of go through the motions of I've kind of encouraged this, and a little bit. So there was a lot of I don't know, I just kept slipping back into it. I would get in trouble, and then I would go, okay, cool, I'm going to chill for a bit. And then it would just be okay, just another little cheeky inside. Oh, more. And then all of a sudden I'm surrounded in I just fucked up the back car with walls and floors and ceilings and stuff. and then police get on the back car, and you just go, oh. But it just kept kind of happening again and again.
And you had also said that you were meeting other writers trackside. Was there, and this is about 98 or so, right? Is there a culture of dudes jacking other dudes for their paint? Did you have to be scared if you were to bump into somebody on the tracks at night?
There was definitely in Sydney in the 90s, there was a culture of dudes. There was we have this culture called lad culture there, and it's pretty specific to Sydney and Melbourne. It's dudes who wear Nautica and polo, and they wear stripy shirts and rugby jerseys, and Nike TNs. They talk in Pig Latin.
Are you serious?
They steal everything, and they would roll people for sure. For paint.
Did you call it? Did you say it was lad, LAD culture?
Yeah, lad
culture.
Or adlay, which is Pig Latin for lad.
Yeah.
So they would talk Eshe adlay, which is yes, lad.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it's because they were obviously always doing dodgy shit, but and they thought maybe that's a better way to disguise what they're up to. But
that's
it's
hilarious.
Kind of pretty easy to decode.
Yeah, totally.
But I don't know. So there's lad culture. So yeah, the lads were there was this crew HR Hellraisers, and they were jacking people. There was 15, 16 of them. You could spot them pretty easily. But yeah, I mean, they were, but I don't know, I didn't get involved too much.
But when you would meet guys on the tracks, it was usually good, and then you had new friends to go out bombing with?
Yeah, it would just be this weird, oh shit, who are you, what's up? And then and then you would just I don't know, exchange numbers and...
Who were your main partners? Was it you had said it was DYS. Was it those guys all the way through?
We were actually, at that point, we were around 99, 2000 is when I started going to raves. And kind of shit just kind of changed. We made a lot of writers at raves, actually. There was a lot of writers who would go to parties and shit. So, yeah, we would go there, and it's changed a bit then, because I was still doing a lot of graffiti, but I was getting really into music, fucking techno. And so we'd go to these parties, and there'd be other writers there.
And would you guys get all spun on drugs and go out bombing after raves? Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. and the rave bathrooms were just smashed with tags. People were just high, so they were just cranking the bathrooms.
Yeah. Would you go to these parties in Sydney, or were they in the burbs where you were living?
They weren't in my neighborhood. They were usually somewhere inner west of the city, like some industrial place, like ish. There was a couple of them where you had to like phone, you know, like a number on the night and blah blah blah. They tell you where it was.
A little secretive
style. Yeah, so we were going to these parties, and I think my graffiti kind of took a weird turn there. I kind of went off this method tag, and I started writing Clerk, CLERK.
What was that all about?
I don't know. I just like it was a good bombing tag. And I was still doing a lot of insides with it. It changed. I think it was like around, I don't know, I think it was after I got busted, I changed it. And then, but yeah, I had this Clerk tag, and it was mostly tagged and a few pieces. So I've got that running. I used that for a little bit, actually, probably a couple of years.
And during those years, because these are after high school, was there like, did you go to work? Was college on your mind? How did things happen for you at the end of high school?
I was bumming and partying, and I had a job at like a supermarket, you know, as like a
clerk.
Yeah, checkout.
Okay, and so you're writing Clerk, and was it sort of like business as usual? You're like hitting track sides, you're doing insides, you're going to Sydney every once in a while.
All the same.
Had you been
kind of meandering around? But then the difference with that period was that I was like going to these raids and stuff, so the style was a bit wavier than it. I started trying to get a little bit more experimental because my brain was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't really look fondly back on that like style experiment phase, because it was like super sort of trippy, like the style and everything, and it was like it was more unconventional, a bit more arty. You know, it was a weird phase. So I kind of like experimented a bit with that. And then I left at, what year was this? 2000. I moved to London, to the UK, at 18. Because like, that's what you do.
Oh yeah.
A lot of Australians do. As soon as they finish school, you get thrown into another country, and you have to like survive for a year and just figure out like life.
So you went to London. What was it like?
So I went to London. It was cool. Lived in East London. It was like a pretty rough neighborhood at that time. It was pretty real, like life experience of like, well, like how do you like do everything? Get a job, get like a house.
Yeah.
Like, you know, look after yourself. I wasn't like mollycoddled as a kid or anything, but like, you know, you didn't really understand how that all worked until you have to do it.
Yeah.
So I did that. And like, you know, like, I don't know, I was still a lot into graffiti at that point, but I guess maybe I took a little bit of a year of not as much actually doing it. I was still drawing a lot. I was still very actively looking at it, paying attention, but I wasn't really painting when I was living in London. I was kind of more into like partying and music and all that sort of shit.
Yeah, and you're like experimenting with being an adult for the first time, and you're on a completely new continent. So that must have been exciting and fun.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was like music scene stuff was just like on steroids there, because like, you know, we would get people come out to Australia, but not like that many all the time, all around. You could go see all these things, you know.
Yeah. Who did you get to see in that year in London that stood out?
I was really into like breakbeat and drum and bass and stuff. So I was like High Contrast and like Stanton Warriors and like these like kind of more like party breaks things. So yeah, I was there, but I was mostly doing that. So, but I drifted a little bit for maybe a year just at that point.
What was but you also must have noticed the graph scene all around London just by virtue of having been looking at graph for so many years.
Yeah.
Do you remember people that were standing out in 2000 in London?
Yeah. The graph scene in London is dope. It's called, you know, the style crack and shine, which is like silvers with like cracks and shines through them. That's the style through London, and it was DDS, like that was up the most, which is like Teach and Fume and Take, and like they're like, that's London graffiti, those guys to me. There's a lot of other like good stuff around that time, like Iron was up a lot. That EINE. He's like a big like street art guy now, but he was like really up at that time. What else? I don't know. There was a lot of. They have very simple, public, legible style there. It's just like silver, black, on brick.
Yeah.
Like, that's their shit.
Yeah, it's classic.
So I was noticing a lot of it, but I just wasn't actively involved. I didn't really care as much at that point.
Yeah. So when did you start to care again?
Let me think. When I moved home, I think that's when I kind of moved back to Australia. And what happened? I met somebody. Where are we? I met this guy, Scale. He was in the neighborhood. He was in this crew, DRS. This is right. So he was friends with a guy who lived in my street, and he sometimes would walk past my house, and I'd say, "Yo, you should come in and check out this." Like, I had this thing, an album called The Bible, and it was just like all these photos that I'd taken of all this graffiti on the North Shore. It was like a history of North Shore graffiti kind of thing.
Nice.
And he would just come in and he would just flick through, almost every time he would like stop in just to like flick through it, have a look. He was in a crew called DRS, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, with like 3 other dudes, this guy Snow and another guy Review. And I thought their crew was so cool. I was like, DRS is sick. And then, so I don't know, I was hanging out with him and he was just like, you should put it up. And I didn't know anyone else though, but then I went out and did it, like did a piece that night and put up the DRS thing.
Were you writing Clark at that time?
Yeah, Clark. And then, but then a little bit of meth as well. Like I was bringing the meth back. And then I don't know. Yeah, then I transitioned pretty much fully back to meth. And me and these guys, DRS, we just started going out and we're doing track sides all the time. I think this is kind of like 13, maybe around 2000. No, sorry, 2003.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
and I was also curious. Like we've talked so much about track sides, we've even talked about insides, but what about the outsides? Like who was doing clean trains around this time, 2003? Because I feel like I've seen tons of flicks of Australian clean trains.
Oh yeah. There's big train thing. There was a crew TM and OSF. They were kind of like the big Sydney train people. They had really dope styles. They were doing whole cars, and we got like double decker trains. So they're like, like whole carring those fuckers is like it's hard work. Yeah. So these guys are doing that shit.
But you hadn't tried that yet.
No, I didn't do one until this where we are now, like in 03, when I was with these DRS guys, and then they started doing trains, and I started doing trains with them. And then the train thing was unlocked a whole other bunch of people and a whole another weird, like, emotion thing going on. I was like, oh, this is like intense now.
And can you tell us a little bit about like the train scene? Because like I know very well about the freight scene in America and just what it is to go and do a mission on freights. But I don't know what's it like to get yourself together to do a clean train mission.
The clean train things are usually very like fast. A lot of them were back jumps for me anyway. Like I know what everyone else gets up to, but for me, I was more doing like these we call them terminators or back jumps, where they like, the train pulls in somewhere. It's either halfway between stations before it pivots and goes back. And you probably get like some of them you'd get like 3 minutes. Some of them you'd get like 7 minutes.
Oh wow, that fast, huh?
So yeah, it was like, and you'd get like you'd team up. Sometimes we'd do 3 people and like 2 people filling, one person outlining.
Nice, yeah.
And it would come in. You had the time from the driver to walk one end to the other. So they pull the train in. Driver like packs up, goes to the other end. You've got kind of that time. There's a lot of that going on. That was that period, like 3 to like 5 to 6, around there was my train thing, and like I wasn't like trying to like be a train guy or anything, but like I felt like obliged to like have like a good little chunk of it on my record, you know. Because I think a lot of the people I was doing a lot, but people were like, you know, you have to have that. And I always consider myself a little bit of an all-rounder, not like specifically in any one basket of the sport. You know, I like a bit of everything. Like I don't like one thing too much because I like the balance. We were painting trains then. It was kind of stressful. I was going to college at that point, like art school.
Where'd you go to school?
It was an art college in the city, fine art play. It was kind of a waste of time-ish. Like I did subjects where I could get close to computers because I figured like learning the technology was the most important part to me anyway. So yeah, I was there. That was probably like, and to be fair, that was probably my peak. Cause I was painting a lot at that point. I was 4 pieces a week sometimes, nice. And I was like, I think one year I did like 150 pieces.
Dope.
Like that around there. I did like all my trains that year. I was like in on like a couple of whole cars. There was a lot going on there. I got arrested again. There was like a lot going on in those years.
When you got arrested as an adult, how did that go down in Sydney?
Well, I just kind of went with the no comment, confused option, and so I never actually got charged with anything because the situations were a little bit unusual. Like, I won't go into full stories, but yeah, basically, I just had to sit in the tank for a while until they had to let me go, kind of thing.
Okay. No probation.
Yeah.
They didn't.
No.
Okay.
No.
Nice.
I just luckily just like weaseled my way out of these situations.
I like that, dude. I like no comment, confused. I mean, that's like
no comment. I'm confused.
That's pretty smart. Yeah.
So and I think that the good thing with being underage was I didn't have to deal with my parents because
right.
Underage, when it happened a bunch, it was just constantly disappointing them, you know.
Sure.
But so I would just deal with it, and then tell them later on in my life.
So that year that you did 150 pieces, were those all Mephi pieces?
Yeah, mostly meth. I wrote posh a little bit for a minute. I did a bunch of posh pieces that year just because I was bored.
When you would switch
I would occasionally I would just pick random words and just try them out because I was doing that many pieces. I was just cool. I'm just bored. I want to try something new.
Also, did people know that would be you? Like, would you sign a posh piece Mephi or?
No, but they would the style. I had a style that you could tell ish that it was me, and you'd see who I was painting with, and people would tell.
Yeah,
you sort of thing. It wasn't like I was trying to hide anything. I was just trying something different.
So you never had an under that you tried to really separate from yourself?
No, I didn't really have a full alias. I was doing all the trains with Mephi. I just kind of didn't care. I did a few posh trains actually, but
also on all those missions when you were doing clean trains, who were some of the main guys that you were painting with?
There was this guy, Urge, or Kuda, or he writes North. He's a very big train guy. He's been around forever. He was one of the enablers. Him and this other guy, Way 2, and then there was another kid, Evict. Those 3 were sort of pushing me into it a bit. Along with these other DRS guys who are still doing all this stuff with all the time.
Also,
But yeah,
and at this point, dude, were you guys still using like Dulux paint, or had you gotten Belton and like kind of better European
yeah,
paints?
we got some Belton happening. I was starting to do a few little jobs as well at that point, like some commission stuff. And I think that kind of made my parents happy as well, that I was like, turning it into something positive.
Sure.
But yeah, so that being said, though, we would get like some money, and we'd be able to go buy like good paint. Like we'd have a separate budget for paint, and we'd like use like 5 cans, but buy like 100, and make them pay for it.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, we did have good paint at that point, and nozzles and everything. It wasn't just Dulux; it was all sophisticated, modern.
Were you starting to share flicks? Did you have a Flickr account or a Facebook account that had your graffiti on it yet?
I never I used to go on 12 ounce and look at the Sydney thread and watch everybody just like bitch at each other, and it was pretty funny.
Okay.
But I never really got involved. I would just look at that. That was probably my main source, was 12 ounce. At that point. But
and
I don't know, blog wise and all that stuff. That stuff started coming in around, I don't know, 7, something like that. I think blogs I remember from 07, and there was I had these friends from Brisbane, north of mine, and they had this blog, The Kingdom of Sad Machines, and they were posting stuff. This guy who had this blog ended up making iron lac, the paint. With his friends.
Nice.
But this guy, he's still current marketing head of Iron Lac or whatever. He's a very good old friend of mine. But he had this blog, and they started that's when, I think around then was when it was it started to get real personal, but you started to see into people's lives a bit more. And that was cool. You kind of understood that there was a lot of other people trying to do similar stuff that wasn't just full graph porn as well. It was a bit more contextual stuff going on, and it wasn't just about the end piece. There was more story going on. That was kind of cool.
Also, we haven't really touched on style of Mephi, because I said to you when we were painting last that oh yeah, where'd you get these hearts that you use? And you were like, oh yeah, a lot of guys do it. And at that point, did you have a definitive style with Mephi? Were you comfortable with what you were doing at that point, and feeling it?
Yeah, I feel it was a serious style. It felt serious. It had extensions coming off. It was symmetrical. It was it was of that time. I'd like to think of people Cantu, something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
It was graffiti, but it was classic. It was serious. It was it wasn't silly.
Yeah.
It was a bit spiky.
Kind of sharp. Yeah. Okay.
Kind of sharp, but yeah, so we're doing that.
And when did Roachi come about? We're at about 2007.
It would have been about it's around 7 as well. So around this period is when it came in, and I don't know. The only story I have behind how it came to be was that I was experimenting with the letters, and I was like, this is kind of cool. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was like, that's disgusting. Roaches are gross. And I was like, no, well, it's not about that. It's about the letters and how they go together, and the O and the A, the O and the C are mirrored, and there was this rationale behind it. But she was just like, no, it's gross. I was like, well, I don't know. And then I don't know, when I broke up with her, I just started writing it. But I went in on it. I started doing it a lot.
But no real personal connection. You're just these are good letters. It seems like that's kind of been how it's been your whole graph career. It's I like the letters. Right. Yeah,
I like the letters, but then also when I think about it, I'm cockroaches and graffiti have a lot in common. They're everywhere. They're disgusting. They won't die. Everyone hates them.
Nice. Yeah.
There are similarities. I wouldn't have a weed connection there with the Roach, but I mean, I like my wing, but like I wouldn't like have that connection to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the letters were cool. It's a fun thing.
You know, you had said that you were in that art school that you didn't really like. Did you graduate out of that program, or did you leave it?
Yeah. I finished.
What did you get from that? Did you take a degree from that?
Yeah. It's called the Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's and I never ever used it until I moved to America.
In what way? Like saying that you had a BFA?
You have to like, you know, to get a visa, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
But before then, like, I never had to show it to anybody. I never had to, like, I could have lied about it, you know, really. But yeah, no, it's come in handy.
Did that training before that have an effect on your graph?
The training?
Yeah, like learning how to do fine art. Did that affect the way you were painting walls and streets?
Not really, because I was trying to get close to technology is what I was trying to do.
Yeah, that's what you had said.
So,
okay, yeah.
So I was more trying to I was like, I need to learn Adobe. Like, I need to learn like Final Cut Pro and like editing programs for video. I need like, you know, I just needed to do that. I felt like I already knew how to be conceptual and how to like execute like drawing and some painting things, and like I learned a little bit out of that. I was quite into screen printing stuff as well, so I was like, and I'm always obsessed with screen printing, but yeah, I was doing a lot of that through that time.
You said it's around 2007 or so that you write Roach, and you know, now it's 10 years later and you're still writing it. When you changed your name to Roach, did that change your like approach to the way you were doing your graffiti? Did anything change, or was it business as usual?
No, it changed. It changed. I don't know how, but I found it way more versatile as a word to work with, like style-wise. Like I felt like I could do more like variety of styles, which is kind of my thing. So I don't know. I feel like Matt kind of had like a look to it, and people could see it. But I wanted with like Roachi just to like every time I did it, it could be slightly different, or like, you know, because I like all the styles. I don't like pursuing one thing.
Sure.
You know, and I'm brought up with graphic design as well, so like I'm used to trying out lots of different styles and executing different things. So, and also like I get really bored with like one thing. Like I couldn't be an artist where they sort of like develop this one style and look and carry that through their whole career.
Yeah. And
that's probably like a better way to approach it commercially. If people are buying your stuff and they're used to similar things, but I just kind of trying to like feel good. Like I'm not trying to make money or anything. I'm just trying to feel good. And if I paint something that doesn't make me feel good, then I won't do that style again, you know?
Yep. I think that's a great way to be. And you had told me about the hearts, how you integrated those into your letters. Can you talk a little bit about those hearts and just the way that that's become a thing for you?
Yeah, I don't really think about it too much. Like I do, like when like you mention it, and I'm like, I guess I do it, like in my throw-ups and shit. I've got it in my tags. I put them in pieces sometimes. I've been doing it a bit more because I like that classic look, and I feel like the hearts, like you know, there's a few classic shapes in graffiti, and the heart's like a cool one. You know, I feel like it's like, you know, and it's positive. I like positive vibes.
Well, any connection to the fact that you did your first dual piece on Valentine's Day, and now you do hearts?
What are you, my shrink now? I got a lot of love to give.
And I like that you said you're into positive things, because it's actually funny because I look at your characters and they're all a little creepy and scary and angry looking in certain ways.
Oh yeah, I know. That's a weird thing as well, I guess.
And I like your characters a lot. I think a lot of people do. Like where did they come from? I mean, I presume it's been like an evolution.
I don't know. I think it's just like, I mean, everyone sort of like has their own feelings towards their letters, and like, you know, I feel like they all have like personalities, like, and they might not have faces all the time, but they could do, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I feel like graffiti sounds like stuff as well. Like the pieces sound a certain way. Me and my friend used to, before we would go painting together, make the noise of what the piece sounds like, so we were on the same page.
That's awesome, dude. Like what?
Like, so like a stupid bubbly piece is more like boing, boing, boing. You know? And like, if you're going to go serious, it's like, shoo, like, and then we'd have to discuss it because I'm like, I'm not going next to some spiky shit. Let's level out and do something on the same page.
Dude, that's amazing. I never heard anyone put it into words like that. That's cool.
But these little characters, like the characters are more like, especially the letter ones. Like I just feel like they're all like weird little people. And like, I don't know, I like doing these little scenes sometimes with them, and they're all just like hanging out together.
Yeah. Like
this bodega thing I did recently where they're all just like hanging out around the bodega.
And had you always doodled those little guys? I mean, you had mentioned drawing that like ex-Avenger guy early on, but we haven't talked much about like any kind of character development for you, or was it always sort of a just thing on the side?
No, it's on the side. I think I've never really focused on it. I love letters. I'm a type nerd. Characters is something I feel like you should have up your sleeve as a graffiti person, but it's not essential for me.
Mm-hmm. When did you come to the States?
I came here almost 3 years ago.
And so 2007-8, when you start writing Roachi, to 2013 when you come here, what was your graph life like during those years?
It was full speed. I mean, like I've been doing it pretty consistently this whole time. I've never gone like too crazy in a year. Maybe that year that I told you that I did that 140 pieces in 1 year was like the peak, but every other year I've just kind of consistently been chipping away at it. But I started getting involved in these galleries. Like I had 2 galleries in Sydney, and we would host exhibitions like every week. And so and I would host all the graffiti shows that would come through Sydney. So like international people, other people. So there was that. I had this gallery that I would work out of. I had like studio space that I could give away for free. I had this little like hub of people that I worked around. And so, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of graffiti going on.
And were you like actively networking with the people that would come to do those shows?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bit of a guy to call if you came to Sydney. Like I would host a lot of international people that come through. I had these galleries so they could come and do a show. We would start taking out painting. Like I was a good host back there.
The ambassador of Sydney graffiti. That's pretty awesome.
Well, me and my little brother, we would host a lot of people. We were really active doing projects. Like we would find a lot of like projects for other people to be involved with. Mm-hmm. We were painting a lot of commercial jobs as well together, me and my little brother. So we were doing a lot together for the last couple of years leading up towards when I moved here.
And what brought you to the States?
There was no reason to leave Sydney. Like everything was going really well. I had these galleries. I had lots of good friend groups. And then I moved over with my girl. We just decided to go traveling. We did like 14 countries. I painted in all of them.
Nice.
Then we landed here and I tried to get a job. Got a job in 2 weeks. And that was it.
And you came straight to New York. You didn't go anywhere else first?
Oh, I went to these 14 countries.
I mean, in the States, you came straight to New York.
Oh, yeah, no, straight here. I've been to the States. I've been to a couple of before in the States, like in the past. But no, just decided I wanted to come here and try and make it work. And so far, it's been really good to me as a city.
Yeah, that's awesome. Also,
it's opened up to me. I have amazing friends here. I have great people I paint with.
What else was your impressions of New York City graph? Like,
just bombing, that's what I think about. Like, I think maybe in the past I might have thought like more about like productions and things like FX and all that stuff back a while ago. But like I do think about bombing a lot, and it's cool. It's like a really cool city to watch because everybody comes here from all over the place, and you know, it's cool to see like locals doing their things, and it's cool to see like other people coming and just like turning it out.
Yeah, and it's an amazing mix right now of people from all over the world that are painting here, which is always dope to see.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I hope that everyone else is, you know, feels the same way. Well, I feel really awesome being here, I gotta say, you know.
What is it that makes you, what feels so awesome about it?
It's just a big ass city. It's cool. There's so much stuff going on. There's so many like people from all over the place. From, you know, like we're really isolated down there in Australia, and Australia's amazing. And if anyone ever wants to go, if you've ever thought about it, you have to. It's the best.
But there is an isolation
it's
factor.
Smaller.
Yeah.
There is an isolation thing, and it's a little bit smaller. And like, I don't know, like it's a nice change, like for me to be here. But also, you know, Sydney, Australia is my heart. I love that place.
Have you been back recently?
Yeah, I went back not so long ago, like last year, and it was great. I'm just kind of hanging out for this summer to kick in.
Yep, I hear you. Although, dude, winter's been canceled this year from my perspective.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
Pretty
it's
great,
true.
You know.
It is true. It is true.
Listen, man, this has been awesome, and this, you know, it's so interesting to be able to hear your perspective, to get the Australian history a little bit introduced into the podcast. So, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Will you tell people where they can find your work? Because I hope that people will find you for the first time on this podcast. Where can we see what you're doing?
Just go to @Roachi, ROACHI on Instagram. That's the best.
And you keep that up to date from for the most part, but you don't have a website that shows your work?
No.
Okay.
I don't feel like I need one. I don't know. I feel like I'm only doing it really to make myself feel good. So Instagram's enough. I don't know.
And it is. And you have a good following, and, you know, you put out a good amount of work. So it's sort of like, you know, I see a lot of people abandoning their websites to just kind of curate their Instagram feeds more.
It's a weird world where like channels like that are the main thing now. It's not like websites are like used for certain things. And
it's true.
I don't know. But yeah, check me out on there.
Thanks again. Really great to have you on, and thanks for all the knowledge. Thanks for all the stories.